Shall we begin? No. We proceed? Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming for this press briefing. We are here as Haki Africa, together with our partners, the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, represented by the Senior Human Rights Advisor, Madam Li Fang. And also with us are our partners, the IEBC, Mr. Anthony Mahui. We also have the NCIC, but for purposes of this particular press, I think you'll be able to speak to her separately. We also have our partners from across the country. Today we have representatives from the coast, we have representatives from the northeast, and from the Rifts area, particularly Nakuru, Laikipia, and Marsabit. And they're all represented here, and we will get to hear from them. Since yesterday until tomorrow, we are basically just capturing information on what is happening on the ground. Of course, sharing it with the key actors who are out here so that they can also respond to some of the concerns, particularly IBC and others. I think over the last couple of months, we have seen heightened tension in relation to the elections. The paralegals who are here, basically their main responsibility is to encourage dialogue as we head to the elections. They are youth and women specifically trying to get involved in what is happening on the ground with a particular emphasis to promote peace and security in their communities. We have at least 30 of them here during this meeting, and it's an important occasion to be able to deliberate on what the issues are on the ground. They've been doing meetings, they've been meeting with other actors, they've been facilitating discussions, and they will continue to do so as we move towards the elections. So we want to share with you some of the findings that we've come across. I'll allow each one person from each of the regions, that is from the northeast, from the coast, and from the rift, to briefly share what your issues are on the ground, and then I'll summarize that, and then we'll hand over also to the IEBC to respond to some of those concerns, and they will also share with us what steps they've put in place to address some of those issues. And then, of course, the international community, through the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, will also get to hear from her how they are helping in terms of encouraging dialogue and engagement with key stakeholders on the ground. I hope that's okay, using that program. So I don't know which region. Where is Masese? Masese is supposed to be. Masese, could you? No. Sit. Oh, yeah. So we'll start with maybe the northeast, if that's okay, yes, to share one or two issues. Yeah, please come here. One or two issues from the northeast, and then we'll request Rift to prepare, and then we'll lastly have the coast.
Thank you very much. My name is Abdrahim Adawa. I'm representing Northeastern region. We are here to discuss on the issue of election issue, and we are very thankful to Haki Africa to have invited us and to have given us this platform. And actually, all things and the obstacles that we have in Northeastern province has been taken care of and has been discussed. And I hope and pray in this coming election, the tools and the kind of capacity we are given, and then we shall going to make sure that all electoral offences and irregularities will be taken care of. Otherwise, I'm also very thankful to UNDP, UN Women, and other actors to have supported Haki Africa to implement this program. With that, otherwise, I'm thankful to all of you. I have only that to say. I have no other thing to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Rift. Masesa, who's representing the Rift. Yes, please go ahead.
Thanks so much, Harid. Thanks, Madam Fong. Ladies and gentlemen of the place, my name is Paul Masese. I work for an organization called Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. We are based in Nakuru, but we are active in 7 counties, the Rift Valley region. So I join colleagues to share with you that indeed, as we approach these elections, we are worried about the rising tensions among communities. The Rift Valley, as you would expect, is a strong UDA zone. Yeah? UDA is the strongest party, and that's not necessarily bad. What's a bit worrying is the negative profiling of independent candidates as spoilers. I think we've seen this in public meetings, and that has occasioned situations where there are targets of FAP attacks, and sometimes their physical security is under threat. Also, a key issue in the Rift Valley that we are concerned about is how easy it is to spark violence because of unaddressed or unattended to historical injustices and grievances around land. Those issues that were raised by both the Krieger and the work commissions, I think over time, we've not seen great attention being paid to them. So it's quite easy for people to spark violence, you know. And then another concern to us is presence of criminal gangs. And I think this is something that is worrying us. In the past about 2 weeks now, we've lost lives of about 5 or so young women in one estate alone in Nakuru. This is in public domain, and the minister, the CS for Interior, is on record saying that he's going to confirm the confirm, whatever that means. It's a bit worrying for us in the human rights sector because we know it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's only going to address the symptoms without getting into the underlying and the root causes. We have had an occasion in our history where after the 2007 elections, young people were targeted, and there were extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances of the youth. So we are worried about a possibility of a repeat of the same. So this is something that as a team represented in this room, we need to closely monitor and call duty bearers to take a human rights centered approach to security management. We really are worried that the state appears to be saying its use of force to suppress criminal activities without paying due attention to the possible causes of the escalation as we are witnessing it. I think apart from that, the other bit that should be of concern in these elections is the levels of abuse or, the levels of violations of laws around elections. There's a great deal of voter bribery, and I think this is not unique to the region alone. There's a lot of money being given, dished out. As to whether this is, and we know or would expect the election management body to have taken note of this and together with other agencies involved in enforcing rule of law, take appropriate action. So I think that's what we'll say. We'll continue monitoring and taking note of this so that we together are able to contribute towards a free, fair, democratic, peaceful elections in 2022. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Jason, we'll just exchange seats with Kazungu.
Okay, good morning. My name is Simon Kazungu. I come from the coast. I first thank Haki Africa for convening us in this meeting. And here we are going to share the findings from our coast. First, at coast, there's the rising of criminal gangs, which are suspected to have been financed by influential people in order to disrupt political activities in some areas. Those activities, some of those activities, we've also witnessed violence during political campaigns, and is I think that as human rights defenders, we've condemned. And also at the coast, there's an issue of economic sabotage, whereby most of the leaders, when they come to campaign around coast, they all talk about the operation of KPA and SGR, ensuring that when they're elected in position, they will make sure that they restore the operations of KPA and SGR that will go back to the coast. These are issues that are really creating tensions on the ground, and we wish to tell our youth to be very vigilant in whenever they attend these political activities. Hate speech is a thing that we cannot afford to ignore. There have been a lot of hate speech during these political activities, whereby now some people are saying we are tired of the leadership of a certain ethnic group, which has also contributed to the tensions in the area. Land issues we cannot ignore because it's a ticking time bomb, and most of the politicians, they promise titles to the squatters, and they do not explain how they are going to give out this title, because these people are squatters simple because the land they occupy, there are already titles being held by other people. But you see, politicians will come, promise titles to these community members, and they do not even explain to them how they will have those people settled. So this is an issue that is also bringing a lot of tension on the ground. Youth unemployment is another issue that the politicians have been trying to talk about, but they're not giving conclusive solution to this, because most of them say they will ensure when they're elected, they will ensure that these youth are employed. But we find out some of these boys and girls are between the ages of 14 and 17. These are people who are supposed to be in school, not to be working. So I think the politician needs to find a way of ensuring that they solve this problem of the youths. Another thing that brings tension in the community is the level of ignorance between the politician and the community. It is very clear after the first activity that we held, it was evident that the youth and women do not even understand the role of this elected position. And on the other hand, the political candidates themselves do not understand the roles of the position they're contesting about, whereby now politicians make big promises to lure people to vote for them, but in the real sense, some of those promises they make do not fall directly under their mandate. This is an issue whereby we have to address collectively as paralegals and under this network to ensure that we have enlightened our communities on the role of these elected leaders, and more so to get us to reach out to these candidates, to also ensure that we've elected them on their roles. So when they make promises that they can deliver, not to make promises where they're outside their mandate. So those are the issues that we are trying to handle at the coast, and those are the issues that we're trying to handle at the coast. Another issue that has come out very clearly, especially in Lamu County, the issue of drugs. Drugs are now being sold like nuts everywhere. Sometimes before a political activity, youths are being given drugs. Some of them have them open their mouth and thrown inside so that they just get high and go and cause havoc during these political processes. So we are calling for the security to also be very vigilant on how these drugs get to our communities, because we understand there's a lot of security operations, but we wonder why these drugs find their way to the community, and at the end, our youth take them, and they're able to be used by these politicians. So, what I'm saying is, drugs are being used some few days before a day or a few hours before political activities. And we are wondering, we have a lot of security checks in our communities, but why are these drugs finding their way into the communities and used by youth so that they can go and cause havoc during political activities? So we are calling for the security apparatus to be very vigilant on these drug trafficking issues, especially during political activities, to ensure that there's security, because everyone is free to participate in political exercises. But if youth will be given drugs in order to go and disrupt a political rally or a political activity of another candidate, that is unfair. So we are calling for a level playing ground for each and every candidate in this electoral process. Thank you.
Thank you, Kazungu. So I'll just summarize. As I've stated earlier, this is a partnership, Haki Africa and community organizations, and we get the reports and we share them with the relevant actors. In this case, the relevant actors are IBC, NCIC, and of course the international community in this particular program, represented by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So in summary, there are 5 key issues that have raised a lot of concern from the grassroots. And Haki Africa, as we speak here today, would like to raise those 5 key concerns to the relevant actors who are here. And we look forward to action being taken to address these 5 key issues. The first one is the increase of political violence witnessed in political activities across the country. If I may give an example of Marsabit, I think we all understand what is happening in Marsabit. We've had serious ethnic clashes in that region, and in the process we've seen more and more people being injured, being harmed by what is happening. We've seen of late the national government, particularly the Ministry of Interior, spending some time in that region. But what we are saying is that the underlying issues are not being addressed. If we make cosmetic changes, if we just go in there to just, drag or put a carpet on top of what is happening, it's not going to be helpful. So we are seeing increased violence in places like Mombasa, in places like Nakuru. I think Masese has alluded to that. And this is a major concern. And if action is not taken now, then our country is not headed in the right direction. The second issue that is of major concern to us is political incitement, or what we can also refer to as hate speech. And of course, this falls squarely under the ambit of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Unfortunately, we are seeing politicians increasingly, making inflammatory statements against each other, against, other political opponents, but also against different communities. I think here in Nairobi itself, we've heard of similar complaints, and the relevant actors have raised these concerns. In Mombasa, we've had similar sentiments. This issue of coast people, non-coastal people, it is not in any way helping anyone. So issues of incitement in places such as Garissa, we've also received reports. The clanism, the ethnic representation there, it's of major concern to us, and we are calling on the authorities. The unfortunate part is that we are not seeing enough being done to rein in on these politicians who are inciting hatred among communities. The third issue that we have also noted from the reports that we have received on the ground is the misuse of youth and women, particularly to engage in criminal activities. We are now seeing criminal gangs positioning themselves to be taken over by politicians during political rallies and political activities. In Mombasa, for example, we've seen more and more youth engaging in machete-wielding crimes. We've seen police themselves in several incidences being mentioned to have participated. I think the issue is it Ngong? We were told that one of those who were involved in that particular attack was a former police officer, you know. So we are seeing more and more crime, and you know, the criminals are taking advantage of the situation to also loot and harm Kenyans. The fourth issue that we want to raise here today is the misuse of social media. Social media is being used not just for campaigns, but actually to malign, to defame, and you know, to cause unnecessary tension among communities. We have, for example, an individual who has been quoted calling on religious hatred within this country. And we have shared that information with the relevant authorities, and we expect action to be taken. So again, we are urging the authorities, and a good number of them represented here today, to address the issue on social media urgently, so that we can reduce the tension that is existent within our society. And the fifth and the final one is the displacement of voters. Displacement of voters. You know, either through violence, either through rising tensions, we are seeing more and more Kenyans moving away from where they are registered to vote. In places such as Tana River, there is heightened tension, which leads many to move away from where they are, and this causes them to be far from where they're expected to vote. Places like Marsabit, I've talked about the violence there. Places like Laikipia, and I think we've talked about this here in the morning during this meeting. So this displacement of voters, it means that you know, we are highly likely to have a very low voter turnout come 2022 August 9th. So again, we are urging the authorities to take urgent measures to address this particular concern, so that you know, Kenyans can be free to vote from where they are registered. These are the 5 key issues emerging from the communities that we are working with, and we are calling on the authorities to address these issues, so that you know, as a country, if we truly want to have free, fair and just elections, then it is incumbent upon us to ensure that the ground is, you know, the environment is conducive for Kenyans to be able to exercise their right to vote as enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya. I think I'll leave it at that, and I'll allow some of our partners who are here to also speak and give their comments on these issues. And then after that, we will welcome any questions that we will have from our brothers and sisters from the Fourth Estate. Allow me to welcome first Mr. Mahui to speak to us about these issues, but also generally about what IEBC is doing to address some of these concerns that are already, I'm sure, on their table at IEBC. Mr. Mahui, karibu.
Thank you. Sorry, just a minute. Mr. Hussein, the Executive Director, Madam Tifuna, the advisor from the Human Rights Commission, the UN body. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me on behalf of the Commission, first, to pass my apologies on behalf of our chairman and the CEO, who are also sharing with the judiciary. They have a forum concerning the upcoming elections. My immediate boss, who is the county manager, Nairobi, is also in a forum where we are having the national planning meeting at Bomas. That includes all the arrows in the nation, from northeastern to the coast. We are meeting there for a span of 4 days, starting today. Anthony is here, Anthony Mahui. I'm the Deputy County Returning Officer, Nairobi. And I'm studying in for the commission. I'm here to confirm that we are prepared for the forthcoming election. And what we are going to give Kenyans is a free, fair, and credible election, pertaining many things that are arising from this meeting. And I appreciate our partners, Haki Africa, for the good job they're doing here. This is part of what we call civic education. And we are happy that they have targeted the most vulnerable areas in our nation, including the Rift Valley. Of course, we know what's going on in Nakuru. It's so bad. Other parts of Kenya, I was not privy to that. Lamu has a big problem that is caused. Northeastern, for some reasons, has been a problem place. Of course, due to clanism and the kind of politics that is played there, that we've been there sometimes and we understand. All said and done, there is a problem with our politicians today in incitement. And that can cost us big. We are talking of Marsabit, that we could have displaced voters. That means we are going to compromise on our leadership in that area, among others. Now, I think I've participated in this forum, and I'm encouraged to know the content you're getting is the right one, because you are the observers. IBC, at the moment, is the focus of attention for good reasons. What we are doing as a commission is that at every constituency, we are having forums with our key stakeholders, including security, the CBOs, the NGOs in the area, and the communities. Why we need the forums is because we need this information. If we don't have you as observers, our elections will not be credible. So we need your support. And we'll support you too. We need the international bodies, and really appreciate for the UN, the support they've given, even to IBC itself and our partners. We appreciate. So here, let's be Kenyans first. And we remember there will be life after August 9th. And that is the message we should preach to our people. Because when you say the youth are being incited, we are the parents. Then we have a responsibility there. As a commission, we concluded recruitment last week, actually on Saturday. And as a commission, we do our best to embrace the youth because they form the bulk of our workforce. It may be a temporal assignment, but we do that. We also engage, this is a question I should be answering here, that we also have photo educators, and Madam Jemima took us through what actually is photo education. She came out very well. And the only other part as a commission I could talk on is the role of agents in elections. Agents. And on that bunch, I would really be talking also on the role of agents. Because most of the conflicts within our elections is when people dispute. Yet, every candidate and every other party should present their agent to stand in on your behalf. So anytime somebody is saying the elections were not fair, did your agent concede defeat at that point in time? Our point in time today, as you're told, is a polling station. A polling station is not a polling center. The sense being, we can have a center that has 50 stations separate. And every station has a maximum of 700 voters. So Nairobi environment, you'd find that one ward can be one center. You know what I'm saying? Yes, because maybe that center has 30 polling stations. And when we count, the results are announced per station, not the center. So we can be 30 POs in one center, but every presiding officer is in charge of his own station. And that is where we should get an agent. All right? So we need more agents as much as we need observers, local and international. Because I don't think there's no time to chance with elections. They must be done and done fairly. That is what we commit. So what IBC is doing currently, we are going on with our planning. We are also engaging with our stakeholders like Haki Africa, the judiciary, the security agents. That is where we are. We know there's heightened political temperatures. And sometimes IBC is a team player. We have other relevant institutions, including the NCIC, ethics and corruption, the commissions, and sometimes when you do our nominations, let's be candid here that we have party primaries and IBC nominations. The difference is that parties sometimes conduct their own elections first before they submit to IBC. I think through our mandate, we try to be very professional. As you experience, some people are complaining. Maybe they didn't have the right papers. Okay? Yes. If you don't have, then don't expect. The Constitution must be followed because the Commission is a creation of the law. Right? The officers within observe high integrity. And that is the best we can for now. We are going to escalate some of the issues to the chairman, because the chairman also has his own committees. Haki Africa, you also have your mandate. Please engage at every level. Let's not just be national, isn't it? Yes. There are people from Mombasa. Yeah. Tomorrow you may also convene other regions, right? Yes. Which is okay. Yeah. So please, we support. And God bless you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mahui from the IEBC. It's okay, you can just sit. Let us also hear Hope. Mr. Hope.
Thank you. So as the United Nations, we've been supporting the whole of Kenyan society, government, civil society, grassroots defenders, in view of fostering the context for peaceful, inclusive elections in Kenya. The UN is working with IEBC, with NCIC, with the Kenyan National Commission for Human Rights. We're also working very closely with civil society partners such as Haki Africa and working directly with grassroots paralegals, defenders, facilitators on the ground. The priority is to make sure that the voices of Kenyans are heard. That means that the paralegals play such an important role in understanding, helping to foster this understanding of how to exercise one's rights under the Constitution. What this brings in terms of responsibilities, as Mr. Mahui said, there is life after 9th of August. And in fact, the most important work commences after the 9th of August. It's actually having this vision for the government, how the government at different levels, national and county, will deliver on what the hopes are of Kenyans who will be casting their votes on the 9th of August. So I think that this is a really important time to be able to hear from the facilitators and paralegals what are the key issues that Kenyans want their government to address. And also what are some of the concerns, the issues which are standing in the way of them exercising their voices and their right to vote. So it's really thank you again to Haki Africa for convening this, and I do hope that we'll also be able to continue these conversations in these critical weeks ahead to make sure that everyone is going together for a better and stronger Kenya. Asante sana.
Thank you so much. If there are any questions from anyone? If none, yes? Yes.
One question is you said you have shared most of these issues with key agencies such as IEBC, but you find that some of the issues are bordering on criminality. Perhaps have you recommended to DCI, for instance, to undertake more investigation in the field of arresting those who are maybe bribing young people?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very important question. As we all know, some of these issues we've raised are electoral malpractices, and they are bordering on criminality. If you look at the issue, for example, of youth incitement to crime, and even funding criminal groups, which has been alluded to by a colleague from the coasts and also from Rift. Yes, these are indeed issues that need to be presented before the DCI. I think we will take that recommendation. I must admit, up to now, we had not done so. So we will share the relevant evidence that we have, especially at the coasts and Rift, where we have, we believe, credible evidence that links a few politicians to some of these groups. We should share that, and we will share that with the DCI and follow up on them to make sure that they use that information to bring those responsible to account for what they have committed. We shall be doing that.
And maybe one question to IEBC. For that bribery is an offense. You recommended maybe suspension of candidates, people who have been blacklisted for such offenses?
Well, I want to say this, and sometimes we must embrace some responsibilities as Kenyans. If I'm bribing, maybe the IBC officer is not near there. But we should invoke the Elections Act that now that you're also informed, if you find me bribing, we know the relevant authorities. As much as you may report to the RO. I said the RO is working in collaboration with the security agents. So when you have evidence, because again the problem could be that we are competing So you must have credible evidence. Maybe you have a video, because of course you know what legalities are. And any competition, I could also be insinuating you are doing something, isn't it? But when we have concrete evidence, we always take action. We do. And you have seen by elections in Kenya, so many people arrested in the process of that bribery. So that is something we know it happens. The problem, sometimes they do behind our back. They may be doing it at night. But anytime they engage in our presence, we have arrested so many. And it will still be done, I promise. Is that okay?
Thank you. Any other? Please.
My name is Philip Well from Media.
Yes.
If I may follow up what you're saying.
Correct.
You have been there long enough.
Yes.
So this thing, you don't have to wait for public to come and give you information. You should anticipate. It's like journalists when they come here, they anticipate. You can fall down, you change the story and raise the story how you fell down. Right? Now,
Yes.
the question is, he has asked a question. You don't have to wait the video. YouTube people should have planned for that. Let me give an example. From Kuji the other day, you saw what was happening. What was the problem? How far have we gone about it? Because the two groups had paid
What
for
happened?
the venue.
What-
Let me finish. The other group had paid both of them. Who should be held accountable? You saw what happened. You saw Mashata. You saw Panga. Isn't it? Yeah. IBC.
I agree, sir.
That is what was
I agree. I'm only saying that IBC does not work in isolation. As somebody said, some actions are bordering on crime. Okay? We have other relevant arms of government. Because even hata tukimaliza uchaguzi, crime itaendelea. Si kweli? Wanasiasa wataenda pale uwanjani, wengine wanabishana. So that is what we could be saying, that we need to assist each other. The media is there to highlight. IBC is there also to take action to the law enforcers. Correct? So that is the first, sometimes you can go.
Yeah, perhaps, colleagues from the media, you know, all of us here are Kenyans.
Yes.
Yeah, and often we find ourselves blaming the victim. Often, I'm not calling IBC the victim, but the message I'm hearing from Anthony is that they are appealing to us. One, to support them through reporting any violation of the laws that they are responsible for enforcing. They are appealing to us to be ready and willing to present evidence, yeah, so that then they can take legal action,
Yes.
working with the police and the judiciary. They are also appealing to us to message to Kenyans to observe rule of law. If you ask me, that's not too much to ask. And this is the context. Hussein, you'll allow me for a minute to be the devil's advocate. You see these independent commissions and constitution offices, we started killing them too soon. Is the commission able to be in every corner and nook in this republic? So, without us in civil society and the media helping the commission, they are not going to be effective in execution of their mandate. Anthony is here, is the deputy. You've heard where the rest are. Below Anthony, who do you find? Below Anthony, maybe the community civic educators they recruited yesterday. What's their level of understanding of the intricacies of politics in this country? What have we? So really, I join him in appealing to all of us, me included, because there's a very thin line between being a right order and a duty bearer sometimes. So we find ourselves shifting, yeah? But yes, The rider to what I'm saying, Mr. Anthony, is
Yeah.
that in order for us to be motivated to support you,
Yes.
we also need to see motion from your end. Yeah?
Thank you.
Such that the reports we bring to you,
Yeah.
we need to see them being acted upon. Yeah? That really is what I would add. So that we don't report, then we realize actually by reporting to you, we are making our work even more difficult. And the same applies even to
Let me-
NCIC.
Yeah.
You report, you want to see motion, we want to see investigations, we want to see follow-up, so that if it hits a snag, that thing they say justice must be done and be seen to be done. For justice to be seen to be done,
Yeah.
the process needs to be quite evident.
Yeah.
So that's the appeal I'm making, and so I don't want to use this word. Often we push these government, these commissions and independent officers without appreciating the context in which they operate. So we might want also to figure out how do we build public confidence
Yeah.
in these institutions. But apparently the bigger responsibility of building that confidence lies with the commissions. Sorry, I hope you understand me from that point of view. I am with you, but I also need to appreciate the context.
Thank you so much. Asante, asante. Anyone else?
I think
Let's take two final questions.
I think for the benefit of others, we can catch up after this. Please, huh? We can catch up after this.
No problem, no problem. Thank you so much. But also for Jacaranda, and I think there was Tononoka also in Mombasa. Someone somewhere, an institution, accepted the fees twice.
Yes.
Because Jacaranda, we were told both sides paid. So someone somewhere is responsible
known,
for that.
yeah.
Because if both parties paid for the ground, who is this person who received money twice and didn't care about what that will mean? First of all, to the people who are there. Secondly, to the political parties. Third, to the country, you know. And action, as Masese is saying, needs to be taken so that we can see justice is being done. Yes, so we have two hands, and then we'll conclude. Is there any other person besides the two hands? Okay, we'll take you first, sir, and then my brother there. Yes.
My name is Boniface. I'm just concerned with this issue of voter bribery.
Voter bribery, yes.
Have you established which political violence not always on these fights? Is it Kenya Kwanza, Azimio, or which party?
I think voter bribery, from what we have witnessed, is all round. Maybe only Wajakoya ndo hatujasikia. You know, but even independent candidates, we have documented cases of voter bribery. I don't know, it has become a norm. It's like a normal thing for people to give out money when it shouldn't be. I know people usually say, take the money, but vote the right person. I think as we move forward, we also need to start educating the masses that taking that money in itself is not proper.
It's not.
Because you're basically selling yourself to this individual. So both Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, and others also, we have documented, and like I said, we will be sharing this information with the relevant authorities for proper action to be taken.
Mr. Hussein, if I assist you a bit, if you get serious, and I come from a background of economics, frankly, before I was an election officer at a higher level. Now, some of these things we address are underlying issues. And when you're being taken through this training here, there was a lot of issues on youth unemployment, poverty. Those are underlying issues that manifest in them taking the bribes. And that should be addressed, not just as voter bribery. Then even our officers, sometimes we see open bribery every other day, if quote unquote. So let's get deep to issues sometimes. And that is why some of these organizations, like they call themselves Haki, should be there with or without uchaguzi.
Yes.
Because civic education should be ongoing,
Continuous. Yeah.
continuous process. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. So the final question, and then we'll release you. Yes?
Thank you. My name is Ignatius Obenji. I'm asking, you just say IBC concluded the recruitment of their staff.
Yes.
Maybe what are the measures you put in place to make sure their safety during election period? Plus, the last question, you really said people in hospitals, people at home, maybe how will they vote? How do they come to the voting station?
Okay.
What are the plans to make sure they vote?
Well, let me start with our staff. Sometimes how we ensure they are safe is when you give that child a job close to the home. Because first, the community appreciates. It's one of them. That is the best measure you can do when we go outside a town setup. That they don't want a foreigner working with them. And yet, si pia wamesoma. Basi unapea kijana wangu kazi. I think I'm also his security as the parent and the larger community. Well, for us, because we are also the staff, at some point you are given a bodyguard. So, see, hata sisi tuko na those risks. Sometimes we do. When they are working, when they are engaged, we have security officers. 2 per. Basically what happens. Now, about the people in hospitals, in prison, that can be tricky. Because it depends on how, well, you could be sick in a way you cannot even vote. Lakini kama unaweza, uko na ndugu yako. Sindio? You have a neighbor who can ferry you to the station. That now, I cannot say the commission has a deliberate policy on how to reach to them. But that is still part of the civic, the importance of the vote. Si kama mimi nataka kura, na niko sure unanivotia. Can't I sponsor you? Okay, that's what happens. Okay.
Thank you so much. I think we'll end it there. And in case you want to speak to any colleagues individually, they'll be available for, I think, 5 more minutes.
Sorry.
5 more minutes, and then we will proceed with our program. But thank you, Fourth Estate, for joining us today. We appreciate your presence here. Asanteni sana. Yeah.
Members of the Fourth Estate,
You have good English?
before you leave, I need to have your details.
I'm Australian. We speak English in Australia.
Okay. I thought I was mistaken with. Okay. Go to your first.